Hello and welcome to Hardcast. And join us as we check out our biggest superhero ever.
Wow.
Yeah, should I do a different one?
No, keep this one and keep all of this.
I'm Humphrey Erm.
And I'm Christian Claus.
Lifeline. Give me Faith, Volume 1, Hollywood and Vine.
And here I thought I was going to be the one that's going to be making all the fat jokes. Issue 1. We're introduced to two skinheads running away from shadowy figures. But before we can find out much, they are captured again. Cut to classic wake-up scene as Faith gets ready to go to work. We see that she has disguised herself a la Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, or Peter Parker. We see that while she's flying to work, she also has daydreams about being an amazing superhero, having adoring fans and saving actors from dangerous situations. She works at a magazine called Zipline for a creepy-looking woman and has a bunch of colleagues who each have a distinct personality type. Torque has a reality show, and everyone in the office talks about how horrible it is, and how they should write an article on it, but no one actually wants to watch it. Faith doesn't want to watch it any more than anyone else, but doesn't tell anyone. After work, Faith video chats with Archer until she's called away because of a police alert. She arrives at the scene and finds a group of men puppy napping. She quickly takes them down. We get a quick shot of the shadowy figures and they're once again captured prisoners as they're thrown back into a basement. Faith follows up on a lead that leads her into an abandoned house, where one of the shadowy figures confronts her, presses a button, and blows up.
All right, Faith's first solo outing.
Indeed.
I'm gonna have some more discussion at the end, I feel. But the main thing, right, first of all, for me, should the companion field work like that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you mean like with the bullets?
Yeah, I just feel again. I don't know. I just feel it's kind of like, oh, and now she's again. It's not like oh wow, she's invulnerable to bullets. Like that's a rare thing. But it just kind of feels a companion field, let you float something along with you, but now it can kind of deflect bullets.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a force field, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's to me, it just seems like it's a way to kind of keep her in danger without being too silly, I guess.
And maybe giving her something that actually makes her worthwhile.
So yeah, but still, I don't know. It's again, it's not like a huge, deal breaker or anything. I mean, this is really the only time it matters. It's not like it shows up again, surprisingly enough.
Right.
But I don't know. I remember when I saw that the first time, it was it just kind of felt like, ah, man, we kind of want to put her in danger, but she doesn't have super speed or what's the word, healing factor.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of hard to have things happen without it being weird that, oh, she's hurt now. Again, it's not the biggest deal, just something that I wanted to get out of my system.
Yeah. There's also one thing that I want to get out of my system, and I kind of want to put it out front here.
Okay.
Why does she have to be drawn so ugly?
Because of the artist, or because we get two versions of her in this volume?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's just say that right out of the box here, or out of the gate, it's not because of her weight, but I mean, especially on that page, like page 26, where she's doing the whole no shooting at puppies face. It's so ugly. Like it's such an ugly face. I'm not saying that all women in comics have to be beautiful. I mean, we've had enough ugly faces for other guys, for guys as well in comics. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is if she's supposed to be representing something. Like if she's supposed to be representing the not classically beautiful comic book heroine. You know what I mean? Because my thought is just if you get to be the god of this universe and you get to create characters, create people, why not make them aesthetically pleasing? right?
So no, certainly, but I think it's a combination of the this specific artist's quirks, I guess you could say. Because I don't know, like, would you say like the cover, like for the volume? Would you say that's like unappealing? Because I think that's really cute.
No, the cover is fine.
So and you still get the sense of weight and stuff.
Yeah, I think the cover is cute. Yeah.
But again, I don't know because I've seen a lot of variation with how she's been drawn depending on the artist.
Yeah.
You'll have some that I feel like this guy here. What's the artist's name by the way? Francis Portela. So he seems. So I like the fact that he actually has gone like the extra step in terms of different kind of body types. Because you can get people like what's his name? I think he's dead now. May he rest in peace and all that. But Michael Turner was famous for being able to draw men and women, like the same body types for all of them.
Yeah, no, but I'm not necessarily talking about the body type. I'm talking about her goddamn nose. It makes her look like, I mean, like, especially that one like face, or that one panel where on page 12 where she's saying like gotcha, break a leg, to the guy who's practicing improv.
Mm.
She looks like an old Jewish woman.
It's her secret identity.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's again, maybe it's some sort of weird thing on my point that I've only been reading comics where all these superheroes look like models and all that kind of stuff, like the men and the women. But there's something about it. It's just something like this so noticeable. I feel, and again, maybe that's just something that I need to, get out of my mind. The fact that they are that it is some sort of like a sexism, basically, or I don't know.
It's a hard thing to say with stuff like that because for me,
Yeah.
any argument like that, be it for any kind of ism and such,
Mm.
in the end, like let's say as their writer, like as Valiant, let's say as a publisher, sure they want as many people as possible to buy their comics. They want their
Yeah.
characters to be popular, but do they really want people to be buying out of guilt? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like I'm put off by the character, so but I'm gonna buy it because I feel guilty for it.
But do you think? I mean, especially in the last page of this volume, it had so many raving reviews.
I was saving that for at the
You're
end.
all right. Well, let's talk about that later. Then let's have a little bit of a,
Mm,
you know, what would it call? What would we call it? A teaser for later. Let's
yeah,
talk about that later then.
yeah, no, but like in terms of artwork, because again, we've had artists before where there's certain ways, like the way they draw things.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the few times, because I remember the first time with the Quantum and Woody Volume Two, I never was worried. I was never concerned about the art, but then you pointed it out, and then I agreed with you.
Yeah.
But the Volume Four of, I believe it was Bloodshot, the one where it was a crossover with Archer and Armstrong, where the Bloodshot chapters were drawn by this other artist.
Okay.
Yeah, like they'd be like really crisp and clean by Clayton Henry when it was Archer and Armstrong. But then when it was Bloodshot, it was this very goofy, rough, very different proportions a lot of the time. It was kind of like while reading it, especially in comparison to the different artists, it was very unsettling isn't the right word, but it just wasn't quite as immersive and appealing to look at.
Mm.
Even though you recognized all the characters and such, but just the texture of the line, the proportions, line work, and I think that could be maybe part of it here. Because do you remember like how Faith has been drawn by different artists before? Like, did you feel similarly then, or like in Harbinger?
I can't really remember how they looked or how she looked, but I always knew that there was always I always had a little bit of a kind of like a to her. I mean, it's just one of those things where, yeah, maybe it is a bias on my side, but I don't know. I think one of the biggest things that just annoys me is that nose. And I can't remember the details of like how other people drew her. I do know though that there are, I think I even mentioned this on the podcast before when we had her in some of the like Harbinger books or something like that. I think she was in. Um, that there are scenes where she looks better and scenes where she looks worse. And I don't know. I mean,
I can honestly consider, and again, this isn't really like an attack on the artists.
no.
I don't think a lot of artists have a lot of experience drawing like realistic fat people.
Yeah.
So, because I came across a tutorial on Tumblr once, I can't find it now. I think. I mean, I could search, we could see, but there were some interesting things about that where they showcased like, okay, this is how a lot of people draw fat people, where just this kind of like vague shape, like okay, there's the belly. But they were going through like the anatomy of it, like actually like where does like this connect, like where do the folds come in? And in one point, it kind of feels a bit, I wouldn't say silly, but it gets kind of like, oh, the science of the folds.
Right.
But it was kind of interesting because, yeah, true, there is, regardless of what one finds appealing, if you are drawing a fat person, the least you can do is at least make it accurate within the style you're working in.
Right.
And I
And
gotta
honestly,
say,
it looks very good.
but you just don't feel like it's like, you just don't feel it looks particularly appealing.
Well, no, of course it's not. It's not. I mean,
No, and again, no, this isn't an attack, because again, I
no, no,
don't
no.
feel
It
one
is. It
should.
is. No, no. No. It's not. I know it's not an attack. I'm just saying. There's a reason. There's a certain. Like you and I like to talk about this too. I mean, there's a certain reason why our movie stars, our actors, are good-looking people, right? Um, I've noticed this a lot because here in Europe, they don't necessarily have the same kind of very very high standards for their actors, like
Mm.
look wise in America, and you can argue if that's good or bad. But for example, I watched a German movie a couple of years ago, and I couldn't. And this was something just I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but just I'm assuming I know what you're gonna be saying.
Okay, well either way, so there's this German woman or a girl I don't remember in the movie, and I think she had like a very noticeable gap in her tooth, and it just completely pulled me out of the movie. Like, and again, I'm not saying this is her fault or that she has to get it fixed or anything like that, but it was just something where I'm like, oh, and this would have been the same for a man if a man had a weird like, it's like that Austin Powers scene with the mole. Like, if someone has something so distinctive in their face, you can't stop staring at it. And in a movie where you don't have that person staring back, you can just stare at it the entire time and just completely forget what's going on and just stare at it and go mole, 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 mole. And it's so yeah, there is a reason why you have conventionally attractive people in movies and in TV shows and all and in media generally. That doesn't say that they all have to be thin. I mean, there are also like people call it Hollywood ugly.
Yeah, yeah, like Ugly
Yeah.
Betty.
Well, no, no, no. I'm not talking necessarily about women in this sense, like that,
No, no, but
like
like he in
those.
particular, I always hated the title of that show.
Yeah,
Like I mean, I get the point they're going for. It's like I would have called it Nerdy Betty because that's really the
right.
only thing that was there. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, so basically, there's like people who, who's that person who they always play the kind of same type of character, like always these sleazy kind of rat characters. Oh, like
um,
literally, who played Peter Pettigrew in the
oh, I
movie?
don't know his name, but I know who you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, right. He's. I'm sorry if you're listening, but he is like an ugly. He has like a certain look to him, right? But it's not unappealing to look at. And there are people who are like like who you would look at and they would just be totally average, but if you put them in a movie, it would just not feel right. And I mean, that's something that I learned when I was casting my movie the couple of years ago. There are just some people who just don't have a screen presence or just don't look good on screen. That's why when you are doing these castings, you always have a film camera there to see how they capture on camera, because it is a skill. It's something that you need, and sometimes even a talent.
well, it's just
But
being
yeah,
photogenic.
yeah, it's about being photogenic and not necessarily. I mean, I think it's something that can be learned because it's about how you move towards the camera and how you work with the lens. Um, but that's what I mean with when you're here with art with comics. Why not make it conventionally attractive? I'm not talking about making making Faye thin. Not at all. Keep her at that body weight. I mean, that's a whole different discussion that we can have about glorifying this kind of stuff, but or making it seem like the norm. But you don't have to make her like make give the. I don't know. I mean, it's weird because I mean I'm not saying this just because it's a woman. I would say the same thing to men as well.
Well, my thing with that is, yes, if you in terms of Hollywood movies, and
Yeah.
the funny thing is, I was expecting these kinds of discussions, which is kind of the quote unquote sad thing, anyways.
Well, especially from me because you know how you know me.
Yeah, yeah, no, but still, like instead of just going on about like, oh, maybe the story sucks or something, it's like, should we have this character?
No, it's not about should we
Yeah,
have
no,
this
but you know
character.
what I mean. It's more about the character itself rather than like, was this a good outing or something?
Well, I mean, if we want to talk about that, I think this was kind of boring.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
we'll continue with that.
it gets better with the issues, but this first issue was quite boring.
Oh, true. That's a good point. Yeah, first issues are always important, especially since this
Yeah.
is one that I believe it sold pretty well because of
Well,
the
I mean, we
hype it
can,
had.
yeah, we can talk about that later then.
So no, but I think that's one thing with the way I always kind of seen like the so-called and what's called sexism within like Hollywood or like within
Yeah.
movies. I can't think of really like a female equivalent to Danny DeVito. Did you know what I mean? Like again, I love Danny DeVito, but he's not a handsome man.
Hmm.
He's like I think he's borderline dwarf. Like he doesn't count as a dwarf, but no, but it's something. It's a very specific thing. He's apparently as short as you can be without
Without
actually
being
being.
okay.
And he's a hairy guy. And again, it's no offense to him. I think he's great.
So he's a homunculus.
But the whole thing there is like, how can he have had such a career? Well, then I can't do whatever the Daniela Devita or whatever, like the female version.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with, I mean, because he started off as a comedian, right? Or did he do like comedy stuff,
Probably.
right? No, I mean, I don't think like, I'm not talking about that. I don't think he started as a stand up comedian, but he did do a lot of like comedic roles at first, or that's what I know
Well,
him
he
as
tends to
mostly.
play a certain character, and I
Right.
mean
And
it's
I think
very.
that,
And I think this is the thing too, which is kind of something I was talking about with my friend while we were playing Overwatch.
hmm,
I think the thing is the issue that comes forward sometimes is the idea of then with the leading man, the leading woman,
yeah.
and doesn't mean that they can't be different, but I think the thing that gets most people or like rubs them the wrong way is the idea that it might not be brought up or mentioned. Like, okay, this is the story about a beautiful woman or something, about a model, but she's a plus size model. And again, regardless of the story or what it's about or the acting, so if it's like not really brought up that that's kind of the idea. Like, do you remember Shallow Hal?
It's ringing some bells, but I have
Jack
no idea.
Black, he's hypnotized, so he sees these different
Right.
people.
Yes. And he kind of sees this really morbidly obese woman as like, wasn't it Gwyneth Paltrow who
Yes.
played her?
Oh God, yes, you're right. It's Iron Man's. It's Iron Man's girlfriend.
Well, yeah.
I know she's been in other things, but that's what I.
Yeah, it was Gwyneth Paltrow. Damn.
But the thing is, the gimmick is there. No one was upset that there were fat people. I mean, I know it's a fat suit on her, but there were other like fat people in the film, and people weren't like upset because that was the gimmick. That was like the point. So, but if it were to have like a different scenario where it's kind of like you mentioned that way back with that one web comic, the Busty Girls Problems. Don't worry, guys, it's safe for work. But you were mentioning this one strip they made where the character had so many little details that you found distracting. Like you had some kind of like, was it a heart monitor or something?
Oh
Or
yeah. Cause so basically, the artist wanted to be like all inclusive, right? So she had like different types of people, but then she also had. I think it was Human. Was it Human?
no, it wasn't Human. I know it would have fit her, but it wasn't her.
Okay, yeah. So basically, so yeah, so someone had a what are those things called? Like it's basically that little bag that hangs off of your body. It's for some sort of like it's because something doesn't work right on your
A
like some sort
colostomy or
of
something?
I don't know. It's
Ah, well, but either way, a very noticeable
yeah,
like medical equipment detail.
yeah, yeah. And there were other ones too, like obviously different body shapes, and then there was the like some sort of disability as well. Yeah, I mean,
And the important thing was that it wasn't the point of it. Like this wasn't okay. This
yeah,
is the problem for a busty woman who has this disability. It just
right,
happened to be there,
right.
and that's where these things kind of. I actually applaud her in that sense because that's the idea she was coming for. These were universal issues for all these different kinds of women.
Yeah,
It wasn't specifically that this is the thing that's like regardless of how you are. I mean, to the point where it does feel like it's almost like she was using a generator or something.
right.
But I agree with you that it's something you kind of notice and then wonder like, I mean, it's the whole what's it called? There's a nice word for it. Something about detail, like not level of detail, but the distillation of detail.
No idea what you're talking about, but yeah,
It's some term I've heard where it's the more details you put in. Well, it's not really about quantity. It's just details are important.
yeah.
It's kind of related to Chekhov's gun in the sense of if you mention it, it has to have some kind of payoff.
Right, because we're so used to just seeing the stuff that's important.
Exactly. So we feel then if you have this, and they were just like two panel strips usually, like two free panels.
Yeah.
And during that whole strip, it was never brought up about the fact that they had this like equipment on.
Well, yeah, because it was about that busty women have problems with certain things, and that was like a I can't remember what webcomic it
It
was.
was called the Busty Girls Problem. So I'll link it. Again, it's safe for
Oh,
work. It's
you
just
oh you have
cute.
it. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I don't even know. I don't know how I came up with it. Maybe I was following that artist or something. I don't know.
No, it came up on Tumblr. I mean, that's a
Oh
lot of people
yeah,
reblog
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Again, I liked it a lot. It was really cute.
yeah. But it's just one of those things where I think this is a very American thing. This all inclusiveness. We don't really have that here in Germany because we're not so vocal about all these problems that don't concern us in the sense of if someone has like this bag on their body or something like that, 9 times out of 10, like if it's a colleague or something like that, you're not going to find out about it because they're not as open as Americans are. I mean, this is even more so in the North where you are, Humphrey. People don't talk about their personal stuff. Like a colleague of mine, I'm pretty sure something like very bad is happening to him currently, or like his wife or something. I'm pretty sure of what I kind of overheard when he was on his phone at the desk, because sits right next to me. Um, but he doesn't tell anyone. No one knows what's going on, and honestly, it's not any of our business. And that's just how we are. And so I feel like a lot of these things, like it feels like a very American thing to be just so like waving the flag for someone else.
Mm.
Like I don't know. It just I don't know if I would be different if it would be different if I was in America, where this kind of stuff like this, making sure that there's always access to a ramp to every single public building or whatever,
But I
so that
like that. I mean, it should
yeah,
be.
but it can get too much though.
Um,
There
I mean,
there
I
are
know what you mean, but for me, it's more about honestly. There's like two things. For me, first and foremost is fairness in the sense of like, yeah, everyone, if they have the money to go to this thing or whatever they need to do, they should be able to do it. And second of all, there's actually some practicality since rather than having to invest in money in like personal assistance or whatever, like here in Scandinavia, you can get the government will provide what's called assistance to you if you have a disability.
yeah, actually, you know what? That's probably it. That is exactly it right there.
But again, I mean, I don't mean that like you can't have both, but
No, no,
it's
no.
just nice for some sense of like independence there. Like rather than having to have someone who can help you up these stairs, you can do it yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, I guess it's just a different kind of way of that. Instead of making sure that everyone like there's no possibility that anyone will have to be stranded. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you never know what's going to happen, and I think honestly, I believe the way that we do it here in Europe is actually better than it is in America. Because in America, everyone's just like forcing these companies to make sure that they always have the ramp, that there's always all accessible, and then but that's the problem. Like, you come up, then there's new kind of things that happen, or um there are some kind of like problems that occur on the day. Like, say for example, oh no, the elevator broke, right? And we can't get someone out there right this minute, and there's like a line of 5 people in wheelchairs who can't get down from the train platform. You know, then of course, what's going to happen is some hero is going to pick up these people and carry them downstairs, and it's going to be a news report about it, and everyone's going to be all patting him on the back and calling him an American hero, all that kind of stuff. But here in Germany, you have that person with them all the time, so that when those things happen, I mean, that they're there to help out. It's their job. And then that's what I think as well. Then we get to the point where this whole being so concerned about other people's problems, then we have problems where people are demanding McDonald's widens their doors so that their customer base can get in there. I feel that's kind of where it ends up.
Again, there's a lot of mixed stuff like that. Though I honestly I like, well, last thing because we kind of like really got off tangent and we're like 20 minutes
Really
in.
got off.
So, but I was expecting it for this volume. So, but yeah, for me, I like the idea of, and this is also where technology comes in. I mean, I saw something recently on Reddit about like some very early type like prosthetic legs that you can actually sort of use, like not those like cool bouncy things,
Yeah.
but like actually something like where you can actually start moving your legs. I was thinking kind of like the Walls and Gromit, the wrong trousers. I mean, it didn't
Never
look that
watched it.
silly, but it was kind of like that's kind of what it was. It's kind of like this automating walking, and that's the kind of thing. Like I find technology will eventually negate a lot of problems. In sense of like, well, we don't really have to worry about this because everyone has these things if they need them. But anyways, so but yeah, and then we kind of get here with the Archer again. Yeah, back to the actual issue.
Yeah.
So I honestly kind of find it kind of cute with those two.
Well, I mean, we already had the what's it called? We already had the final kind of. We already know that they're going to get married, right?
Exactly. So because we saw the future. So the Harbinger, what's it called, the Fall of Harbinger. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a nice little thing, and it doesn't feel quite forced. I feel it can kind of get like that sometimes. Like, hey, you're a superhero in this universe. Hey, and you're one too. Like, I think there's an interesting dynamic there with Archer as being this very, I wouldn't say gullible, I guess, but the fact that he's grown up, brainwashed, and has this very like innocent nature in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it kind of cute how she's now slowly getting him into all of these like pop culture stuff that he wasn't allowed to see. It's kind of neat. Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of discussed for the most part here.
Yeah, I mean, again, not much really happens during this one. It's just mostly just who she is as a character, just a huge nerd, and I mean, we can talk about that maybe later
Mm.
as well. But that's not really a, I don't know. Also, kind of makes it a little bit unappealing to me. But yeah, let's move on to the next.
Issue 2. Surviving the explosion in the house along with protecting a kid nearby, Faith is rattled but realizing that they're onto something big. The escapees from last issue are taken back to the imprisonment. It's some nice looking villa in Beverly Hills. In the morning, Faith dozes off at work during a meeting and is assigned to watch Torque's reality show so she can write some content for the website. It inspires her to fly to Torque's place and insists he goes back to superhero, but he rejects the idea. Faith then gets the idea to interview the mother of one of the disappeared people that Axe had found, finding out that he was a Night Shifter fan. She doesn't realize that she was seen flying away. Faith realizes that her boss had edited her. Faith realizes that her boss had edited her original piece to be even more negative than she intended. And while she's in her office, and while she's in her office, angry, some men in black appear, holding up the place with guns. The all important issue 2. So this is where we see like who stuck around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I mean, we can discuss it later too about looking at like the outputs of the other Valiant titles. This is certainly the most sort of like almost very classical superhero. I guess the whole idea of a secret identity, the sort of like crime patrol kind of thing. It's a very like sort of Spider-Man-ish in terms of yes, okay, I'm in the city, I gotta beat up crime.
Right.
Because all the other ones aren't quite like that. Like so, Manowar is more of this like sci-fi alien invasion kind of stuff. Bloodshot's about like military conspiracies and
Mm.
violence. Ninjak's more like this espionage martial arts stuff. There's not so much of really all right, I'm a superhero. And the fact that she is a fan of stuff like that, like this is in the Valiant universe, we have DC and Marvel. Because we just don't have Valiant. Not unlike our world.
Right.
No, no, but so it's kind of like fun having that idea that she is observant about these things.
Yeah.
So I mean, because I can't remember one specifically in the first two issues, but she mentions a lot of times where you see her like monologuing, and she kind of like points out all these things like, oh man, I didn't expect I'd be fighting like a brainwashed teammate yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of like she knows the tropes.
Right.
Or I do like also her. All right, and my banter's getting better. So it's kind of like it's fun because it is this kind of more aloof adventure. Like
Yeah.
they're not doing this very serious thing going on here. This is just faith. And actually, if you think about it, because she appeared in Unity, she was there for 2 issues.
Yeah.
And honestly, in some sense, this is like the perfect counterpoint to that because she realized that she did not fit in with Gila, Ninjak, and Livewire.
Yeah. The real superheroes.
Well, yeah, but no, but the more grimmer things that she wasn't used to. She wanted the Avengers, Justice League. Not Valiant's more gritty like persona.
Yeah.
So this is her basically doing that, and I feel that works out well in the sense of this is sort of like more of the light-hearted comedy book. Again, regardless if you find it funny or not, but just a little bit more, a little more fun. Just what's called young woman in LA, trying to be a superhero.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it before. It was so much with the first issue about the skull. I personally kind of like the fantasy sequences.
I like them because the art is amazing.
It's really cute.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we could do like an entire issue with it like this, but she does look much more appealing in these. Like everyone looks much more appealing in this than in the other ones, like in the non-fiction. Well, I mean they're all fiction, but in the non-fantasy parts.
Well, there's a softer kind of like more pastel kind of feel to it all.
Yeah.
So I mean, especially like her in her wedding dress. I mean, that's honestly very attractive. I feel.
Mm. I mean, we have different levels of attraction, I guess.
No, but you get it. Like the shapes work. Like there's a nice shape language involved.
Well, that's what I mean is that the shapes work. Yeah, she looks realistic. She looks like it's drawn correctly. It's drawn well. But if it's attractive or not, that's something that you and I disagree on.
Mm. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the whole thing. She has this very innocent, naive look on things.
mm.
And in this case, the story is tailored to that. I mean, like with the first issue, like sure, I mean, there is such a thing as puppy napping,
Yeah.
like people stealing dogs for like these like dog fights and stuff. So it's not like it's just some silly, like Cruella de Vil kind of scheme. But everything has this kind of like tone to it. We don't get this like like with Bloodshot, where it's like, oh no, this child has killed all these people, and I gotta absorb all the nanites from him, or things like that. It's just it's again, it's the sort of Saturday morning kind of like feel to it all, but still with, I guess, a bit of an adult twist in terms of yeah, well, sort of dialogue and subject matter.
Yeah.
Again, as per usual, it's one long story, so it's kind of hard to, unless we just want to go do a play by play. Should we move on to the next
Yeah.
one so we can get to the end and have a like the full on discussion?
Yeah. I mean, right now, I mean, all it is that at the end, the I guess Men in Black or whatever come in and start shooting up the place.
Yeah, that's what I call them.
Zipline. Yeah. But before we move on to the third issue, let's take a moment to thank our sponsors. This episode of Hardcast is sponsored in part by Zipline. Zipline, your one-stop shop for the latest trash on Chris Criswell, cakes that will actually let you lose weight, and how to get your boyfriend to look like Torque. Now available online.
Remember to catch the thrilling season finale of Night Shifters. Find out which fan favorite character will be killed in a gruesome fashion. Only on NBC at 8 o'clock.
Issue 3. In probably a record time for comics, Faith reveals her true identity and saves her colleagues. While she's saving them, the agents in black explode. Faith gets to keep her job and all seems fine. Back in the lair of the big bad, we see that Sam, I think his name is Sam, the guy Faith has been looking for, finally gets indoctrinated. Faith's alter ego gets a new assignment, namely to interview the star of Night Shifters. Before that, she talks to Archer, imagines herself being amazing, and then goes to the interview. But it's not an interview. It was just a front to get Faith to talk to the star, who reveals that she is a Vine and part of the group she is hunting. We cut to Torque and his girlfriend to realize that it is all just an act for the quote-unquote reality show. She drugs him and brings him to the shadowy organization, revealing that she too is a Vine. Yeah, so she just takes off her clothes and hey, I'm Faith. And everyone's just totally cool with it.
Yeah, but I kind of like that in that sense. I mean, again, we've discussed this before about how long should you go with something.
Mm.
It's like I mentioned a lot with like Arrow and stuff. Like it's so quickly there that they like, okay, like who doesn't know he's
Right.
what's called the
God,
vigilante?
have you watched any of the new episodes yet?
No, I'm so behind on all of the superhero shows.
I haven't watched a single one.
I watched I think the first 2 free episodes of season 5 is the latest.
I have no idea. I haven't seen any. Like, since we kind of stopped watching it like together, that's the last time I watched it.
Yeah, and I'm super behind on everything like that, and I honestly don't care.
Yeah, me neither.
I
I've
mean,
been watching
I'm
Black
curious.
Lightning. Huh?
I'm curious and stuff, but I don't know. I just don't want to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, it's just
And now there's too
now.
much, so now it's even more about like, too much to watch.
Yeah. I mean, for you maybe, but for me, it's especially hard if like my girlfriend doesn't want to watch it. I don't really have the time to watch it because we always have to find something to watch together. So, but I'm not saying that I'm only watching bad stuff. I mean, Riverdale is awesome.
What, did you say Riverdale or Rivendale?
Riverdale, not Rivendale.
Oh my god, can someone do like a parody of that? So that's Lord of the Rings place. That's where the elves live.
Is it? I thought it was.
Well,
wasn't it also a
Rivendell,
place in
Rivendell.
Skyrim?
But Riverdale, Rivendell, come on, that's close enough to make something.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Also, Gravity Falls is on Netflix now.
Oh, cool. All 2 seasons, yay. It's like, is it a British show?
God, is it only 2 seasons?
Yep.
Did it take so long just for 2 seasons?
Well, again, it's 24 episodes each, so it's a lot of material.
Oh my god. I remember the months, the years in between the episodes.
Oh yeah, it's been like years now since the finale. Or
Yeah.
1 year at least?
Maybe. No, 2 years.
Damn. Anyways, since, we should focus on the comic.
Yeah, we only have 20 minutes left.
So no, but it's I don't mind the fact that it's kind of revealed because it's kind of fits the tone of the book, I feel. Like it is this sort of self-aware, very tropey like adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the fact that she is revealed and her, like I like how her boss tries to kind of, stand up for her.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, yeah, guys, we found, you were the only one in there. You kind of fit the body type wise. We found your clothes inside. It's just kind of nice to kind of get it over with.
Yeah.
Of course, it's something that I find most superhero media has played with now for years because people are so used to that classicness of it. The whole Clark Kent to Peter Parker. Like, oh no, I gotta keep secrets. So I kind of like the fact that instead, like, no, now she kind of has her team, so to speak. And the fact that it's kind of this more casual, mundane thing about just like these sort of office workers in like for a website.
Yeah.
It's not like the arrow cave kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he does have his own felicity with Axe, but he's not present here. Like she knew him from before. I don't know. I think it's fine. So it's kind of cute. I even like the like with her boss as does she say it here? I can't find the actual line. Oh no, there we go. As she mentions, well, none of us were specifically assigned to discover your identity, so we're under no obligation to reveal it.
Right.
And I kind of like that. I like friendship that happens like that, where just kind of like people standing up for each other in a sense. Like even though she was a bit bitchy to her before, it was kind of like
Yeah.
she does care in the end, even if it's for as your commercial kind of pointed out, it's kind of like the online trash stuff.
Yeah.
It's a BuzzFeed equivalent.
What do you mean my ad?
Oh, well, I'm
That
sorry, the
was
Ziplines ad,
yeah, Zipline's ad who very generously sponsored this episode of the podcast.
and you called it trash.
They called it themselves. I just read their copy.
True, true, true.
So otherwise, I mean, this episode is very just run of the mill. I mean, we see kind of how she's dealing now with kind of her being Faith, like everyone knowing or most people knowing that she's Faith at the workplace now too, and also Summer. I mean, can we talk just a little bit about like the whole fandom thing? Do you think it's too much, or like, I mean, because you're more of a fan than I am. Like, you're more into this kind of stuff. Like, you can get like really passionate about fiction,
Mm.
right? And I mean, again, I totally understand that I am talking to someone who is a huge nerd. And everyone who's listening to this, by definition, if you're listening to a podcast about Valiant Comics, you're probably a nerd too. And I'm a nerd too in some sense because I'm making a podcast about Valiant Comics. But I've always kind of seen myself as kind of like only a half nerd. And something like this, where I see her just so enthusiastic and so just completely into this kind of fantasy world of hers, like especially with the fact that she, you know, that she chose the name Summer because of Buffy or because of Cyclops. It just kind of it's just one of those things where I'm just like, okay, yeah, I guess. I mean, generally, I just don't like her character that much because it's just so. It's so like everything is related to a fandom, kind of like it was worse before. I mean, she didn't do it this much in this comic, but in other times, it was always kind of like relating it to some kind of pop culture, if you know what I mean. Like,
Mm.
I don't know if you kind of got that impression too, or I mean, how you felt about this, but I don't know. I just felt like it was too much at some points.
Well, the tone is there. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
feel this is what I expected because of the character. It's what they sold me on from the beginning. Like I didn't feel like it was really out of place or anything like that.
Mm.
Again, it's always tricky sometimes to make things, I guess, maybe genuine. Because I've seen a lot of things where people are trying to portray like geeks and nerds and stuff, and it's very hard unless it's real. Geeks and Nerds, it's very hard to make it feel genuine.
Big Bang Theory.
A good example, or any kind of like a corporate like commercial thing, like way back with the Xbox One when they were trying to showcase like the typical day for like a gamer,
Mm-hmm.
with their Connect, with their Xbox One and stuff. I had like these two girls talking like through their Connect, it's sort of like a webcam thing, and it's like I get that it's supposed to just be sort of a scenario. It's not like specifically that these people exist, but it's like, yeah, this is kind of the things you can do. But hearing these two girls talking about like, oh yeah, you must go. My boyfriend like bought the Avatar: The Last Airbender game, but I think he only bought it for the achievements. No,
What?
no, it just feels like it doesn't feel genuine. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like whenever they want to try showcasing like a multiplayer game, that's a competitive multiplayer game, and instead of showing the realness of it, of people getting pissed off at each other,
Yeah.
there's always this whole very, all right, dude, okay, you flank them from the right, I'll take them from the left, and it's like, no, it's like, you motherfucker, you're supposed to heal me, dude. So it's like, and again, I get it, like, they want to show it more positive and like cleaner, but it just feels so disingenuous as an actual. And again, not that I define myself as a gamer or as only a gamer,
Yeah.
but I'd say we're both gamers.
Yeah. I mean,
We play games.
we play games. Yeah. I mean, you more than I do, but
If anything, my mom's the biggest gamer. I mean, I don't play
right.
every day; she does.
Yeah. I mean, it is a different thing. I mean, um, it's kind of weird because I don't think that's kind of been a problem for my entire life. I can't really put myself into any kind of box. Like I can't say that I'm a gamer. I can't say I'm a nerd. I can't say I'm a comic book fan or anything like that. Or I can't even say that I'm an athlete anymore. I
Oh,
mean,
sorry.
no. Well, I mean, sorry. I mean, when I was an athlete, I mean, when I was a swimmer, I would swim like what 8 times a week, and I mean, I was an athlete. I mean, I wasn't even like I wouldn't even consider myself a student at the time. I wasn't like even a school student. I was an athlete more than anything else. And now just the fact that I do an hour a day is not enough. I feel
Mm.
I'm a working stooge. I'm an office man, salary man. I think it's called.
Yay!
Yay!
Nothing wrong with the salary.
There's so many things wrong with the salary, Humphrey. Anyway, let's move on. Not much left in this issue. Let's get to the next issue, so that then we can talk about it as a whole.
Issue 4. Faith has called over Archer as backup for when her and Hadley are going to save the imprisoned people in the Vine complex. But once they're inside and find the prison, they realize it's empty just before it explodes. The Vine boss sends his brainwashed proto-psyops out to free, with Archer and Hadley managing pretty well, but Faith gets strangled by Torque. She manages to fly up high with him and detach the helmet, freeing her. We get a villain motivation speech about how this is revenge for all the Vine who have been killed, but Faith isn't having none of it. After some more fighting, Sydney, so Torque's girlfriend, escapes while the boss is captured by Faith's companion field. Everything is more or less fine now, and Faith is ready to keep on superheroing. So yeah, I mean, again, this is the thrilling conclusion. I will point out one thing. This was supposed to be a mini-series when it came out.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't supposed to be an ongoing, but they changed it after I guess, success of it, or at least the critical success of it.
Right. Right.
So, because I remember very well that the whole like issue 5 and stuff wasn't coming out at first. Like this was just, it would have maybe come out with another miniseries, but instead it became this ongoing, at least for 3 volumes. I don't know. I feel here too. I think this is part of the thing sometimes with any kind of like a superhero or like any kind of actiony thing. Like I like it when the combat fits the characters. Like keep in mind, Faith never really throws a punch in this fight.
Right.
I mean, of course, she doesn't get much of a chance to. Torque goes after her, but that's the thing. It's not really her thing, whether it's yes, strength wise and character. And I feel that's the thing. Sometimes it's more about. It's like remember when I showed you Cyber 6, the animated series.
Yeah.
I love the fighting there because sure, she's what's it called, she's a cyborg, so she has all this like robot strength in her, but her movements and such were still very feminine, and the way she fought, it wasn't just the sort of Superman punching thing. It was much more of these like precise hits and like what's called like what was it called jujitsu kind of flips of the enemies.
Yeah, well, I mean that's I feel like that's par for the course nowadays. Honestly, it may have started with like Avengers, Avatar, the Last Airbender kind of thing, where everyone had like their own style and it was very close to reality, so to speak. But I feel like nowadays, because people put so much more thought into this kind of stuff. I mean, it's not like the comics from the '60s or something like that, where everyone just like punched each other. Everyone was like, it's like there's more thought behind it. Like, how would this character who has never had any official training in any kind of fighting and has no muscles, how would they fight or how would they attack? And it makes sense, and I like that.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think that's the kind of thing sometimes, which is honestly one of my things I could agree with whenever someone criticizes the way like women are drawn in superhero comics. Again, depends on the character in terms of where their power set comes from.
Yeah,
But if they're supposed to be sort of like these, just conventionally strong characters, it's not a super serum, it's not, Superman's tactile telekinesis. It's just like, no, they're just super strong. And if they don't look the part, if they're just like attractive supermodels with maybe some tone,
yeah, with just like thin arms,
yeah, then it kind of gets a little bit really like. I mean, I don't mind the way they look. It just doesn't quite reflect her power set.
right?
Again, it's fine with someone like Storm, for example. She's a light, skinny woman because she floats around with her powers and summons Weather. It's not she doesn't punch really. And then of course you can have the fun contrast, like what's her name, Molly from Runaways in Marvel, a little mutant kid who's like 11 or something. So, but she has super strength. That's her superpower,
Yeah.
which is just cute.
Yeah, but I think that's something that I think nowadays also just generally I feel like what has changed in society is also that it's become more of a conventionally attractive is to be ripped. Like it's not because I mean back in the '90s it was just all about being thin,
Mm.
like just being as thin as possible, and that's why you had so many just completely anorexic women
Oh yeah.
in the '90s, and now it's all about being like toned and fit and um like having like women having six packs and stuff like that. And I mean, I feel like I mean there's certain people like bodybuilders where men and women I'm just like yeah no not no that's a little bit too much. I mean even with The Rock I'm a little bit like oh, you're a little bit on that side. I mean you're looking good man, you're just amazing, and I have so much respect for bodybuilders men and women, just like it's so much respect of what they do. But at that point it's not attractive anymore. It's just kind of like this like it's more of an awe kind of thing, like holy shit.
Well, it's more like a stunt. Like that's a cool performance you
Yeah,
did.
yeah. But you see that more with all the actors. I mean, think about like I mean, some people were also saying I was listening to some podcasts and they were also mentioning about like the '80s, like the '80s movie star
Mm.
was just a guy that was buff. Like he was just like he did a couple of weights, but he didn't have a six pack. He was just buff and hairy. You know that's like if you think about like Tom Selleck from like Magnum days.
Okay, so okay, that's what you mean in terms of like this movie stars. I was gonna bring up like the Stallones and Schwarzeneggers, but those
Yeah,
were
but no,
action
but even
stars.
yeah, but even they didn't have like six packs in the sense they had the that bodybuilder gut kind of thing where they were strong, they were just like huge, but they didn't have the it wasn't until Brad Pitt in Fight Club
Mm.
that people realized or had this low body fat kind of thing that now we're seeing in every single action star. I mean, if you look at them, I mean, everyone has their body type. I mean, you look at Chris Evans, you look at Chris Pratt, you look at Chris Pine, you look at Chris Criswell.
I was gonna okay, you beat me to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, but you look at all these guys, and you just don't have. Everyone just has this toned body that's like 0.5% body fat. I know that's not possible. I'd say somewhere between 1% and 5% body fat, and just so much muscle and women are doing the same thing too. And for me personally, I feel like that's like a great thing, and especially with the movies, is they're really pushing this. They're like, look, your character's Thor. He's a Viking god, so you have to look like this. You have to have the huge muscles. And then with someone like Captain America, it's again a different body type. And then you have Iron Man, who just doesn't have that body type at all. Like, it's not about shredding. He doesn't have to have this 3% body fat. He needs to just be fit, but he's still an engineer. You know what I mean? And also with Bruce Banner, I mean, he's also not fit like that. I mean, he's thin. You know, he looks like he gets around, but he's not like, and that's what I love about it. And I think that's what Hollywood is doing well, is they really know how to get the science behind body types and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know why I went on this tangent. I'm sorry.
Oh, you just like talking about fitness.
I really do.
So check out his fitness blog.
Ha ha.
Nice segue there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as a whole with this book, because we were waiting for the whole, as you were mentioning, the accolades at the end.
Yeah.
The,
Oh yeah.
let's see, yeah, the last page. Yeah, the thing that's there on the back after you look at the cover and then turn it around.
Yeah.
And again,
It's like 5 and 4 stars all the way around.
and all from these. I mean, some of these I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Spartan Town, The Broken Infinite. But you know, IGN,
Nerdist,
what's called
comic book resources.
yeah, and then all these other ones that behind her is all the 1 stars.
Yeah.
No, that's no, but that kind of thing, you know, it's really well, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that. And honestly, oh man, I should have actually looked these up. Could have taken some quotes from them to see what they liked about it. But the thing is, it's there, and I think it's a nice addition to the lineup. Let's keep in mind, you know, with Valiant, you know, you only have like sort of, I think, 6, 7 at most, you know, comics running concurrently. And I feel this is a nice book to have alongside, you know, all the Exo Man of War and Bloodshot and all that stuff.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's not a book that I would read. Like, I would have probably pulled the first one just because everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, you're
like the first. Yeah, I would take the first. Honestly, you know, with Valiant, because there aren't that many, I would probably pull every single first issue.
Yeah, give each thing a try.
I would give everything a try because it is so surprising. I mean, again, you and I mean, we're reading everything. So, you know, you give me a book and then it's just like, here, let's read this now for this episode. And I'm like, oh, this stuff sounds so stupid and boring. And then it becomes like one of my favorite things. I would have definitely given it a try. But after the first issue, which was kind of boring, it was kind of slow, I probably would not have picked up the second one. And also, I don't quite understand. I mean, obviously I understand why they got this book got so well reviewed. I personally would not have reviewed it this well, but
well, we're seeing all the 5 stars here. I mean, what's your 5-star like rating?
What do you mean? What's my 5-star rating
of this book?
Oh, out of 5 stars, maybe a 2.5, 3.
Okay.
I mean, it was just boring. I mean, yeah. I mean, the last couple of ratings that we've been giving, I've always been at about 3 or so with all the books. And this was just so boring. And again, I feel like one of the main reasons why this got so many reviews is because it has a plus size superhero.
Oh,
a female plus size superhero. And I don't think it has anything to do with how good the book is. Everyone's just like, oh, look at the representation. We can't give it a bad review because then people will like hog tie us and all that stuff. So I don't know. I mean,
I'm fairly certain of that too. It's very tricky sometimes.
It's kind of hard to say it. I mean, obviously, look, I've looked at our statistics, right? We have only male listeners, so there's like no, like I could basically say anything I want, right? But it's just one of those things where I still feel uncomfortable being all like, oh yeah, they only did it because she's a plus sized woman, and it's about, you know, representation and all that stuff. Which, again, I'm not going to go into it too much, but I also feel like the representation of this might not be the best thing to do.
Yeah, no, I know your thoughts on that stuff.
Yeah, I know, but maybe the listeners don't.
Yeah, I was saying.
But even then, I just want to mention as well that I used to be, extremely fat.
And even then,
And
it wasn't. I mean, yeah, you were, but
I was like, oh my God, dude, have you seen the pictures?
yeah, I have, I
Actually,
have.
you can go on my Twitter. I just recently posted like 2 months ago or something like that, a month ago. But yeah, it's just one of those things where maybe it was like more of a personal thing as well from my side that I like either I have a fear of going back to that, and that's why I'm so aggressive against it. And I feel like I also don't like the idea that people are normalizing it as basically saying, "Hey, look, there's all this representation for you out there because this is totally normal and it's totally healthy to be this way." And you know what I mean? Like, no, it's not healthy to be that way. And I mean, yeah, there are some people who have problems with their bodies that they can't like metabolize food correctly or whatever like that, but it's a very small percentage.
Mm.
And that's what I mean is like I feel we can't give everyone who's like that the benefit of that doubt, because statistically it doesn't kind of hold up. And as a former athlete who turned into a very obese, like literally I was as obese, categorized as obese, to being back to normal weight, still overweight, but getting lower and lower by the day. It's just one of those things where I feel like, yeah, everyone needs to kind of take that responsibility and not necessarily uh, be normalized and say like, oh no, it's fine the way that I am like this. You have to kind of see, yeah. So it's just one of those things where I feel like I don't know if I really like the idea of yeah, as I said, normalizing this kind of
See,
stuff.
for me, there's a combination I feel, or sort of like in between of this.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, at least from what I've read of, like on the topic, from people who support this,
Mm.
like sure you'll have people who are like I guess I would argue are delusional about the whole healthy at any size and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's this sense of fat people exist. It's do you want to like sort of make a fictional world where there are no fat people? Like if there's not a thing about it, so to speak.
Yeah. I know. I know.
And like I said, the thing here too is, I mean, we kind of joked about it from the start in the first Harbinger when she was first revealed. There is a certain, I guess, it wouldn't be irony, but just a certain amusement about the fact that she's this overweight woman and she flies.
Yeah.
So it's light as a feather. Like it's kind of amusing as a concept. Not original necessarily, but
No, it was in Shaolin soccer.
mm, exactly. But that kind of thing, it's just kind of like fun. And my point is, and this was the discussion I had with my friend when we were playing Overwatch. So, because I think there's a lot of fun character design and also, an actual sense of diversity in terms of different nationalities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even amongst the girls, the female characters, there's a lot of interesting diversity there. But there's no female equivalent to Roadhog.
Yeah.
And my point about that is, I think the issue is the fact that look at Roadhog. He's not an appealing. I mean, I like him as like as a character, but he's a murderous, vile, awful human being. So living like in this post-apocalyptic Australia. I mean,
Yeah.
he's taken straight from Mad Max like motifs. I mean, he's awful. All his voice lines, I mean, amongst the comedy ones, has all these sort of things like "I will crush you" and really
Yeah.
scary voice because he has a gas mask over himself. He's I think he's a drug addict in a sense because that's his healing
Mm.
power. Like it's something that keeps him going. Like really awful character, but his design reflects that. And again, not specifically because he's fat, but it's like this like barely clothes. It shows this sort of like barbarity, this wilderness about him. That he's like
Yeah.
wild. So it also affects. It also reflects the gameplay. I believe he's the hero with the most innate HP. So it's that kind of idea there. Like, yeah, he is a literal wall of meat, and that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to take the damage for to protect like the squishier units.
Yeah.
So it's all reflected there. But if you were to have a similar kind of character who was female, I think people would have been upset the fact that oh no, they have this fat woman as a character, but she's like constantly like she's so brutal and evil and mean and And I think that's the thing. Like, you gotta allow them to be things.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, if you look at statistics about that kind of stuff, I mean, you said he was murderous and stuff like that. Most murders are committed by men. I mean, it doesn't say that there aren't female
Yeah,
murderers,
yeah,
but I'm
but
just saying
yeah,
that, like,
statistically, yeah.
yeah, and if you're looking at a lot of the statistics that you were giving me, this idea, like, yeah, that could be just such a, I mean, maybe if he was, from a post-apocalyptic Australia, I mean, yeah, maybe men just thrive there better. They're the ones that have to do the hunting. I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, obviously these are just like excuses, apropos kind of things that you can kind of bring up to say that. But still, you have other characters in Overwatch, like who's that one Russian woman? The
Yeah,
the one
Zarya.
the really yeah the really muscular one. Is that her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you do have some diversity in the
Yeah,
character
but
types,
even
and
then, it's not quite the. And again, I'm not saying there isn't,
yeah,
but if you were to put it as a spectrum, I guess, if we go from smallest to largest, regardless of like, on an X and Y axis,
yeah, yeah,
it's not quite as it's not quite as varied as a range as it is with the male characters, where you have like a dwarf like Torbjorn,
yeah.
all the way to like Roadhog, to then having like the only animal character, Winston, who's a male.
Yeah, but I mean that it does make sense. I mean, it is a sexist thing. I mean, we've seen that in a lot of character. I mean, hasn't that been a comedy thing as well? Like,
Oh, it's always been
that
brought up.
yeah, like the whole men when you get to choose between like a male, an orc, a elf,
No,
and all that
no one
stuff. They
did it
all
better than Oglaf.
was that the one? Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
many people have done it, but Oglaf's is best. Lady
why
Deathcap.
was that?
No, but it's just they have like I think it's the orc male, orc female, T
Yeah.
Rex, T Regina, and then the Deathcap and Lady Deathcap, because Deathcap is just like an anthropomorphic mushroom,
Oh,
and then Lady Deathcap is just a really hot woman.
yeah,
But the thing is, the fact that they go then to the point about human males and females, it's just so great. Like, why do all females of any species look alike? Nobody knows.
right.
But how come human males don't look like anything? They're like blobby chicks you wouldn't want to fuck. So they seek
That's what I
deviant.
mean.
They take on deviant forms that
Yeah.
to. Ah man, I can't remember all the lines. It's just so stupid, and it ends with them killing all the humans because they're all degenerates.
I mean, part of me kind of thinks like, especially if you're like thinking of something like Overwatch. I mean, isn't that aren't they supposed to be some sort of elite fighting group or something like that?
I'm not
Like I've never
super
played it.
caught up in the lore. It's such a
Okay.
weird thing. It's almost like they made the game like it's almost like it's an adaptation of a property that didn't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like if someone made Smash Bros, but there was no
Before the
Mario or
characters.
Link. They
Yeah.
just came up with the
Yeah.
characters.
Well, no, my point is just this that these are superheroes, right? I mean, or these are like military people and stuff like that, and you have to be a certain type of fitness to be a military person. And I mean, obviously that this Roadhog guy is in the game, I don't understand at all. Anyway, I mean, with the way I've seen some pictures of him,
Mm,
and he feels like I mean he's probably going to be some sort of slow, tanky character.
exactly, that's what he is.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that kind of plays into his body type. But someone like Faith, I'm just saying, like we could go through the whole. Maybe I could even write a post about this on my blog post about how much energy she's actually burning while flying. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, is it possible to keep that kind of body weight and be a superhero? Because I mean, it's not like say what you want, but the science of losing weight and all that kind of stuff and having a certain body type is about what actions you take during your day. If you're a person who sits on the couch all day eating chips and playing video games and watching TV shows and stuff like that, obviously you're going to develop a certain type of body type. If you're outside working construction all day, not eating because you're actually working or you're doing other stuff, and then you eat certain types of times of the day and stuff like that, then you're going to have a certain type of body type. So kind of what I'm thinking now is, does Faith either stuff her? I mean, obviously it's a comic book, so obviously she's not burning actual calories and she's not consuming actual calories. But assuming that her flight is a feat of strength, she must be burning calories in order to do it, right? So if she's flying to and from work, we can assume that with like if he was walking from work, And however long that would be. I mean, it would be really interesting to calculate all this stuff, how many calories she actually burns per day, plus the fact that she's then fighting. She's flying to other places in the evening, in the night. It doesn't look like she has a lot of time to eat. All this kind of stuff. I'm just feeling like it would be interesting to calculate what her caloric deficiency would be with her normal lifestyle now. And that's what I mean. Is just I feel like that's why I feel like this kind of stuff, as we said before, with the whole body types of superheroes, would be unrealistic because she is an active person, and active people don't have that body type.
Yeah, but well, honestly, again, this is all coming into like fictional science and all that.
Hmm.
But the fact she's a psyot and it's all like a psychic power, I'd imagine that it gets kind of
Ooh, they could make her even more lazy because then she's not actually exerting any energy, right?
well, that's the thing. I'm assuming it's more of a mental strain, and I think she's probably relatively used to it now. So in the sense of like her general, yes, normal flight and like can
Yeah,
be done without any major sense of, I guess, exhaustion, be it
yeah,
mental then. So again, I'm sure like the stress and like during the fight at the end, for example, I'm sure it's a lot of like stress and adrenaline going on. But yeah, that would be my thing. I mean, it's kind of like the who's the actor who played the fat guy in Lost?
oh yeah,
Because I remember he mentioned sometime like people would always ask him if he ever like was recognized on the streets or something.
yeah,
They always ask him like, how come he's still fat on the show?
right,
They're on a desert island, and he would always kind of mention like how they weren't surprised about all the other weird things going on in the
yeah.
show. And again, like sure, that's pretty typical thing to say.
I mean, that's what also they said to the guy who plays that what's his name, Tully on Game of Thrones,
Who was Tully?
the friend of Jon Snow's.
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they would also ask him why he's still fat because he shouldn't be that fat on because of the show. I mean, I think that's something different. I mean, I feel like it's not.
I mean, that's the actor.
Yeah, and also that's one of those things. Like, I mean, as much as I was like all against this whole thing here, I am totally against people going up to, especially people you don't know, and telling them, "Hey, you're fat. Fuck you. Go lose weight."
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
this is
but
not.
that's manners, and we've discussed that
Yeah, yeah,
before.
yeah,
It's a
exactly. I mean,
matter of manners.
right. No, but that's what I mean. Is like, and I don't want anyone to hear, like, who's listening here, to assume that I'm all like fat shaming everyone all the time when I see them. I just have certain beliefs, but I don't like if a fat person comes to me and starts talking to me or something. I don't act differently around them than I would other people. That's not the first thing that doesn't come into my mind is like, oh, you should lose weight, man, and all that kind of stuff. No, no, no. It's just like, look, you're a person. You have certain life decisions. Whatever. It's your choice. This is all your choice, and that's fine. There are, of course, like with you, Humphrey, I talk about this kind of stuff every now and again, but that's because we're friends.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about we start wrapping up? Do you have anything else to say about this
Well,
volume
honestly,
of faith?
one thing as a comparison point, because anytime, almost anytime, like Valiant is discussed on like CO,
Yeah.
it's always just this one, like the cover of this volume, and just everyone going on about how come the lines aren't breaking from her weight. So like the phone lines, it's always the same thing. Like it's kind of like the whole everyone's already knows the joke the moment it's posted,
Yeah.
and I always try to do my best to kind of come on guys, let's talk about some Valiant. But the thing is, because right now also there's been a lot of discussion with like Marvel and their like also last like 2 years of comics.
Mm-hmm.
They've had this like a very different kind of the storytelling style that sort of started with like Miss Marvel. This more like the adventures of the quirky girls. So like the Miss Marvel, Gwenpool, and the major one, America Chavez.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta say, in like from what I've read of those, like I've read the first volume of Miss Marvel, read excerpts from Gwenpool, seen America, the America Chavez one, story times on CO many times because they ironically love her. And I gotta say, Faith stands out immensely. I feel like this volume because yes, she is this overweight woman. She has this cute sort of like a quirky fangirl, but there was a story going on here. You know, it was a detective story, really. In the end,
Yeah.
you know, there's a kidnapping going on. It has the sci-fi twist because they're Vine. You know, even has some fun with the whole idea of how she then thinks to her being a geek. You know, with the night shifters comment, that kind of helped her like figure some stuff out. And it's just kind of like fun. Like it works. There is a story like beyond any kind of sense of like virtue signaling or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like sure, they Valiant took advantage of the fact that people were really like hyping it up, you know, and I don't blame them. But it does stand as its own story. Like whether it's the most amazing thing ever is another topic entirely. But it is a comic. It doesn't feel like some kind of like preaching or anything. But the America book, so from Marvel, good lord, it's amazing. Honestly, we should have like if we do actually do a bonus episode, that should be one of the episodes.
Okay.
Because good lord, the stuff there, it's constantly in your face about the fact that this is what's called a lesbian Latina from another dimension, who has biologically two mothers, because that's how awesome her home dimension is. And she starts going to university in this other dimension called Sotomayor University, and it's just the most like it's just so very there's no real story going on. It's just pages after pages about how awesome she is, how awesome all her friends who are brown are, and it's a trip to read. But the thing is, the volume one of Faith, it works as its own comic. Like you're gonna get baggage from both sides, from people who want to really raise her up because of the representation, and other people who are gonna like tear her down because of her weight.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, she already has shown herself in the Harbinger books. She was part of the original '90s series. So it's not like she was just came out of nowhere. She's had a moment to prove herself, and again, I feel this works as its own little series. Like I know she gets like sort of a new series afterwards. After this one is, I don't know what's better, finished or canceled, because she then gets another series called Faith and the Future Force. I don't know quite the premise of that, but I guess the title maybe implies. But the thing is, it works as a comic. Like I can judge it on its own terms rather than well, it's good. It's a good thing because of representation, or it's a bad thing because of that. Like I said, I would give it 3 out of 5 stars, similar to previous books as you mentioned,
Yeah.
because it's fine. It's the character we know. She's now doing her own soul outing. It has its own like gimmick and tone to it, like most of the books do,
Yeah.
and it's fine. It's I haven't read the next volume, so I'm honestly as far as you are now with her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would also, as I said before, give her like about 3 out of 5. But I'm not dreading the next volume
Mm.
like with some other comics that we've read. Not necessarily looking forward to it, but I'm not like dreading it. I mean, when it comes up, I'm not gonna be all like, oh, I can't
Yeah,
believe we have to
it's
watch
not
about that.
Imperium.
Yeah, it's not Imperium. Was that the one that I hated?
It was just the Harada one.
Oh, the Rod one. Oh yeah, I hated that one.
There's only one left of that.
Oh, thank God. All right. You can discuss this episode on Reddit, tweet us, or you can follow us on Facebook. Also, all of our episodes are available on our hosting site, Podbean. Links are in the show notes. Catch us next time for
Bloodshot Reborn, Volume 3. Analog Man.